So I think we'd all agree that this is either a sport utility vehicle or a crossover utility vehicle. Either way, there is a U in the center for a specific purpose. It tells everyone on the planet what the mission of the vehicle is, which always struck me as odd. Should these things be attractive? And if so, at what cost? Okay, so being that you and I have already driven a district green Audi SQ5, what's the difference here? Well, it's mainly the design. If you look at the arse end of this thing, it is more swoopy. What they've done is made a change here to make it look more attractive, and there's less U in there. So yeah, there's going to be less cargo space, but the idea is to open it up to more folks who think these things are unattractive. And one of the things they do is take the roof rails off the vehicle and make the spoiler look a bit different. But everything else, specifically the stuff underneath the hood that's important to us, that's all the same. 3-liter, 6-cylinder, in this case 349 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. That does drive all 4 wheels, mainly rear-wheel drive biased, as we learned in the SQ5 with the long roof. Now, in terms of fuel economy, it's not terrible, 18, 24, 20 combined. In terms of performance figures, it's actually pretty good. 0 to 64.7 seconds. As a basis of comparison over the regular box standard 4-cylinder Q5, that's about a second quicker, and VMAX 130 miles an hour with the right wheels and tires 155 miles an hour. So the last Q5 you and I trucked out here was a shade under 4,400 pounds, but that one had 2 propulsion systems. This one, with less metal and only 1 propulsion system, 4,288 pounds, or depending on how you express your weights and measures, 1,945 kilograms, with that dynamic mode. Okay, about 3,400 RPM, that's where it starts to come alive. And to be very frank with you, really no different than the SQ5 that was also district green, just with a long roof on this same road. It performs the same way. I really didn't expect the body to change the way this thing accelerates or delivers power. The one thing I do have to share with you, now after driving that new Mark 8 Golf GTI with that magnificent DSG, it makes this transmission, the Tiptronic, it really makes it feel old. Yeah, it's good. It works well with this power plant. You do have some control over the gears. There are some times where it will deny shifts, but overall it's not that crisp mechanical shift that's like instantaneous that we just experienced in that Mark 8 Golf GTI. So I have a theory about these things. If you were to go to the folks who have bought Q5s and SQ5s and ask them, why did you buy it? And if they were to really honestly answer, most of them would say, well, because it has 4 rings on the front of the car. But the real deep-seated psychological reason is the way it drives. This is one of the best driving, like, smaller SUVs out there. But what underpins it? Well, it's nothing exotic. Yeah, it's an independent front suspension, but the rear, it's a multi-link and it's a trapezoidal link. And really what that does is an unusually good job of controlling pitch from side to side. And it's like the age-old question of when someone looks at a movie or a TV show and they think it's good production quality. It's not what you see, it's really what you hear. What's more important in film production is audio quality, and that's what's going on with that rear suspension. There's better ride quality here because it controls all planes of motion and can make the vehicle a bit more sporty in this case, or like even in that plug-in we drove, that had good control even with the second propulsion system. Now, why is that important today? Because it's no different, even with the swoopy arse end. This drives almost identical to the SQ5 that we drove that was in the same color as this too. And it's one of the more fun vehicles to drive. And that's something that one doesn't normally have in a crossover. Like, think about like a Lexus NX. It's good, it's not slow, it's screwed together incredibly well, but it's not an SQ5. Yes, it is indeed that time again to play your favorite game, Mind the Absence game, with today's contestant, an incredibly well-equipped Audi. This one, the 2021 Audi SQ5 Sportback for a base price of $56,100. I do feel it prudent to point out, if this were the long roof version of the SQ5, meaning more metal, it would be less money by a lot. $52,900. Now, it's not just the design that changes, it is the design plus the roof rails are gone, but they also include the panoramic roof as standard, as well as the sport seats. Anyway, let's press on to really the star of the show, and that would be the color District Green. We fell in love with this with the first SQ5 we drove. In this one, it looks even better because this is a more attractive vehicle, well worth the $595. I would say well paired with the rotor gray interior. You do have to pay extra for the leather seats, but the way they list it on the Monroney is fine Napa leather, which kind of reminds us of fine Corinthian leather, for those who remember, $1,000. We press on to the Prestige package, which is a lot of stuff. It's the Bang & Olufsen stereo system, it's the OLED taillights, it's the head-up display, the heated steering wheel, the heated front and rear seats, the adaptive cruise control, and most importantly, the Audi virtual cockpit. This is a big deal in Audis, $8,600. Then the S Sport package. I would argue this is the most important option on this vehicle because it brings about the air ride, the sport differential, and maybe to a lesser extent the red brake calipers, $3,000. And the dynamic steering, $1,150. Clearly someone is tuning a performance SUV here. That's why it has all these options. Then the 21-inch black optic wheel package, which includes the 21-inch wheels plus the summer tires. That is kind of a bargain at $1,000. I don't know if I'd want that. It's kind of a question. If you live in New York City, no, because what's fitted as standard is either the 19s or the 20s. If you want something that looks fancy, then yeah, 21-inch wheels. Then we move on to the black optic package to match those wheels. Now, yeah, it's a satin finish aluminum on the wheel, but notice the mirror housings, the bumper, the trim on the front, all of that is black. That is the black optic package, $600. Now, another interesting color choice that I would propose would be the dark blue with the same light gray interior. However, instead of the black optic package, the satin chrome finish, that comes off the page as well. Then the carbon Atlas inlays on the dash, $500. Then the rear side airbags, why is that optional on a $56,000 car? $350. Then the only other thing we have to add is the destination handling, not from Deutschland, rather San Jose, Chiapa, Mexico for $1,095, which brings us to a total retail price of $73,990. So yes, I would go so far as to saying that this is attractive. I'd even say this is downright pretty, which one could not say about the regular SQ5 and Q5. The ass end, I guess because I'm Greek, is just more appealing to me. But the inside, that's more of a mixed bag. Not that it's bad, it's just older paradigm in Audi design. Like, look at the shape of the dash, it's more squarish. It's not that interesting, but they've tried to update it over the years by tacking that screen on, and I just do not like that approach in UX design. Well, we talked about that in the Discovery episode. They've blended in the screen. They've made a bigger iPad S type screen, but that one has a shape to it. This is just flat, and there's no control over here or over here. You got to do everything through the screen. Thankfully, part of that old design paradigm includes a manual HVAC system. When I say manual, I don't mean it doesn't have automatic control. I mean it has knobs and toggle switches, and they work excellent, meaning they are safe to interact with. Then there's a further complement of toggle switches down here, and then my favorite, there is a real volume knob, which doubles as controlling of the tracks or radio stations. This is something, it's so simple, but it works. And I say, yes, this is an old paradigm for Audi, but in reality, it's the newest paradigm for Audi, because when you look at the new e-tron GT, they kind of adopted what Porsche did with the Taycan, but then they put in some of these controls, and frankly, it is the better choice. So it's good to see that still here, but I'd like to see an update. Let's integrate the screen a bit more, perhaps a bit better tactile feel on the inside. Again, it's not bad, it's just older. So if you saw our previous long roof SQ5 episode, you will not be surprised with what I'm about to share with you. The result is exactly the same. One of the more magnificent mini SUVs that one can drive. This one just less you, which I'm really not fussed about because it's more attractive. That said, we have to get to the wish list. And here you're not gonna be surprised what I'm looking for here. And that would be the 48-volt mild hybrid system we have seen in other Audi, Bentley, and Porsche, Volkswagen Group products. I think it would go a long way in a vehicle like this because it's really not about utility here. It is really about performance. And to add something that has torque from zero, because that's the biggest thing this engine suffers from, and also change that transmission to the DSG while we're making this switch to a 48-volt mild hybrid. Now granted, I'm realistic, I don't see this happening until the next generation of Q5 and SQ5. And this is the point of the episode where I turn this around to you guys to opine in the comments below or via our social media, MotoManTV all one word, MotoManTV all one word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And with that, before we part ways for the day, I do want to ask a favor of you guys. You know I do not like to pander in these episodes like the usual, hey man, smash the like button, leave a comment, whatever. I hate doing that because to me, we put a lot of work in these episodes and the quality of the episode should be self-explanatory to the point where you guys would share these with your friends. And that's the most important thing that we can ask of you guys. Yeah, hit the like button and leave the comment. Always like discussing these episodes with you through the comments or on our socials. However, the biggest thing you could do for us, the biggest favor you could do for us is sharing these on your social platforms, especially Reddit. That's where we see the most lift. Because what we got to do is we've got to get around the YouTube algorithm, which frankly, for the past 4 years has been incredibly punishing to this particular show. So with that, I am going to say, until I see you in the next episode, Bish Beta.